Hey, good morning, y'all. Josh's severe weather here. I hope you guys have had a great start to the week. And we've got a lot of weather to unpack here. Boy, oh boy. What is Santa Claus's favorite type of potato chip? Well, that's easy. Crisp Pringles. Of course, once he stops, he can't. Once he pops, he can't stop. Ooh, I botched that one up. Alrighty, folks. Well, here we go. Let's talk about the weather. And of course, making headlines this week is a very dangerous situation about to unfold with Arctic air blasting south from western and central Canada, low pressure forming in Colorado, tracking across parts of the mid-south and then cutting up through the Great Lakes. This is going to strengthen as it does so. High pressure coming down with the polar vortex from Canada is going to intensify the wind in between the deepening low pressure system and the strengthening high pressure system. And the stronger the difference between the two, the stronger the winds will be. Cold air is going to blast southward. Temperatures are going to crash quickly below the cold front that's going to accompany this low pressure system. Those temperatures crash below 20 degrees and they keep crashing below that. Winds will gust over 35 miles per hour due to that pressure gradient. The visibility will fall to less than a quarter of a mile as snow falls heavily, creating some very treacherous travel. The areas I've got circled here in red have the best chance of having sustained blizzard conditions for at least 3 hours. In blue, those blizzard conditions are certainly possible. And even outside of this area, we could have local blizzard conditions, but the area in red is the area that's going to be most impacted. And that includes Chicago, Milwaukee, Peoria, Kansas City, St. Louis, even into northeastern Colorado, Topeka, Kansas, and then over to Detroit, Saginaw, and into parts of north central Ontario. We are going to have an all-out blizzard during the height of this storm over the next few days. It'll start cranking here across the Rockies during the day tomorrow and then spread eastward tomorrow night into the day Wednesday, and then Wednesday night into Thursday across the Mississippi Valley, Thursday night into Friday. The worst of the weather starts cranking up in the Great Lakes. Friday night into Saturday, farther east into parts of western upstate New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. If you are traveling this weekend, please, I highly encourage you to maybe come up with a backup plan. Maybe just try to avoid altogether, as this is going to be a dangerous setup. And then temperatures behind the cold front are going to crash quickly all the way to the southeast with a 40 to 50 degree temperature drop in just a matter of a day. So boy, oh boy, it's going to be crazy. And yes, those temperatures are going to be brutal. This is Friday evening. These are wind chills, and they get down below zero all the way to Greensboro, all the way to Macon, all the way to Birmingham, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Richmond, and Philadelphia. This is right behind the front. After a few hours of the front's passage, temperatures crash all the way down well below zero. Wind chills as low as 35 below zero. And this is during the early evening. It's going to get worse at night, even as winds begin to subside across this region. Very dangerous. This will create frostbite in a matter of minutes as temperatures continue to drop. This is something we have not felt since February 2021 across the plains and around Christmas time in 1989. I took this image and superimposed Jack Frost onto it. There's his nose, there are his lips, there's his beard, which is, of course, frozen and curling forward into Pennsylvania, and there's, of course, that wintry blast. Sorry, I just had a little bit too much fun here. But no, this is a serious matter, but I do want to try to make light of it. Okay, so let's take a look at the GFS model. This is the 6Z run just after midnight. You guys can see chilly air in place with a storm tracking across the Gulf states here this morning and then moving across the eastern U.S. I say eastern U.S., really it's just going to be the immediate southeast coast. That's going to be tonight, tomorrow morning. Rain and maybe cold enough rain for a little bit of mixed ice pellets, even a few snowflakes, but they won't accumulate right around the Charlotte area down to Wilmington. Nothing I'm really stressed about at this point. Briefly milder air across the southern plains, mild in the southwest, but much colder. You guys can see these are isobars, lines of equal barometric pressure. When they start nosing in like this, that shows a full-on Arctic attack. Low pressure forming in Colorado, snow falling heavily across the northern Rockies and then spreading onto the plains tonight. We will see winds really cranking in here, 60, 70 mile per hour gusts, creating whiteout conditions in Wyoming and Colorado, right on the front range. The worst stays west of you in Denver, but here we go as we get into Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Blizzard conditions likely as this cold air continues to rush on into Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, the Central Plains, and then eventually the Northern Plains and Mississippi Valley. And we should see well below zero wind chills in Kansas City as this snow flies Thursday morning. St. Louis gets bad. And then the entire states of Illinois and Wisconsin are going to be dealing with blizzard conditions on Thursday, especially in the afternoon. And then Thursday night, really cranking across Indiana, Kentucky, Western Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and the Lake Superior region of Minnesota. And then in Detroit, it's going to initially be rain falling Thursday night, but right behind it Friday morning is when I expect these conditions to very quickly deteriorate. Now, an interesting setup here across New England. We are going to see temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Winds will be increasing during the day, and we could even have thunderstorms in parts of the Northeast. Remember, about 5, 6 days ago, I was talking about an East Coast potential storm. You'll see low pressure forms here, but the cold conveyor is way back here. This upper low would need to be across the Delmarva for us to be talking snow, but it's way back here in the Ohio River Valley. So the two are just not going to come together in time for this to be a big Northeast snowstorm. However, it's still going to be an impactful day of travel on Friday. I do expect there to be airports closed in the upper Midwest, and certainly delays ahead of this storm system as we look at an extreme amount of heavy rain, maybe thunderstorms around New York City, New Jersey, and winds that continue to increase across the New England coast. I'll show you that in a little bit here, but notice the chances for a white Christmas are not super high in the south, but I do think we will see some snow on the backside in places like Spartanburg and Hickory, and even into Durham, North Carolina, Richmond, Baltimore. Not a big snowfall, maybe just a brief novelty snow, but if you are on the roads Friday afternoon as temperatures tumble, we are going to see roads getting icy. And all the rain that's falling before could freeze up very quickly on Friday. I remember a situation here in Raleigh in January 2005 where a little bit of snow fell, but because temperatures tumbled below freezing and everybody was trying to get home, Interstate 40 was a parking lot for over 12 hours for a very minimal snow event. So that is something I'm very much concerned about. And if you are traveling, just keep that in mind, that something like that could definitely happen. And the farther south you go, the less prepared people tend to be. I mean, I was driving the other day on a sunny day and I saw people that were doing what they shouldn't be doing on the road, not to judge, but imagine that in sunny weather. Now we add in some snow and cold and wind. But this storm continues to crank 959 millibars. That could be one of the most intense storms in the Great Lakes on record. And we see temperatures in Maine that were in the 50s and 60s will tumble right behind the front, and heavy snow could occur here overnight Friday night. Finally, the storm leaves us on Saturday. The wind does not. It will be very cold on Christmas Eve day in the deep south, and we're going to see lake enhanced and lake effect bands of snow in the Buffalo area, Erie, Northeast Ohio, and everywhere else that we're pretty much getting sick of snow, I'm sure, at this point. It's been a very snowy start to the winter here across the Great Lakes region. This storm will eventually start to weaken. The cold air continues to pour on in. Florida will be cold right on into Christmas Day. The iguanas may fall. We see in the west, so all the mild air that's coming in will eventually turn this into a thaw situation next week. Before that happens, there is another disturbance that drops south. We've kind of hinted that there will be a trough, and if it tries to cut off down in here, we could have a little bit of a southern track storm system early next week, Monday into Tuesday. Right now, the GFS is not super excited about any significant amounts of snow. It'll be after Christmas, but right after Christmas, if it happens, I would say Monday night into Tuesday morning, maybe the best shot of something frozen down in here. The GFS doesn't show it, but it has hinted at it in runs in the past. Not to jump on one model in particular, but the Canadian model, which showed nothing in the last model run, now overnight is showing a more substantial storm producing some snowfall in Arkansas, northern Louisiana, Texas, into Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. I'm going to be Atlanta. I don't want to see ice, but that's what this model is showing. And maybe some stronger storms across Florida, depending on the track of this low. Again, a low percentage possibility, but anytime you've got a piece of this trough lasting or digging backward, kind of a positive tilt here, we definitely have to watch for low pressure to form and enough moisture coming up over the cold air for something wintry. Again, this is not a super high percentage chance of this happening. I expect this model is going to change. But nonetheless, something that I want you guys to be prepared for just in case. If you do have to travel next week in the south, we very well could see something at least, and maybe not this extreme where we have an East Coast storm, but certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on for you guys. The GFS showed something big and then it lost it. It just couldn't connect the northern stream of the jet with the southern stream. The Canadians trying to make that happen now. So it's on the table, but it's not something that we're obviously forecasting at this point. Still very low amounts of certainty. Here is the national blend of models and a 6-hour snow, and this is tonight and tomorrow. You can see the front very easily with the snow picking up. It'll be heavy in Minnesota tomorrow night into Thursday morning, Kansas, Nebraska, Thursday morning, Missouri, the heaviest snowfalls, and then Illinois, including Chicago, into Michigan, will have potential blizzard conditions Thursday night, Friday morning, into Friday afternoon in Detroit, and then it gets bad in the lakes and interior Northeast Friday afternoon and especially Friday night. But notice we're not seeing any accumulation once we get into the majority of the South. Some light snow possible in northern Alabama, Georgia, into the Cumberland Plateau of Tennessee, but not a significant snow. This system lifts out, and we look at another potential clipper dropping down the day after Christmas. And you guys can see if you blend all the models together, there's at least a hint that something could try to form and produce a light amount of snow. This is averaging every model. If you take the no solution versus maybe a more substantial snow, you take the average of it, we maybe see an inch on the average. It's probably not going to happen that way, but this is the average. And then those chances for snow start fading as we get closer to New Year's Eve here. I will show you guys the apparent temperature. These are wind chills. Again, 40, 50 degrees below zero in the northern plains, extending south and east, sub-zero wind chills on Christmas Eve in the morning, 5, 10 degrees below zero in Atlanta and Birmingham, just about as cold as it can get this time of the year. I really would hate for this model to end up being not cold enough, but that's certainly still possible. And it's a very cold Christmas Eve if you're heading to church, single digits and teens wind chills across much of the South, obviously brutally cold where the snow has already fallen. And then as we get to Christmas Day, it does very slowly get a little bit more tolerable, but still brutally cold as winds begin to die off. These are wind gusts from the GFS model. You guys can see strong winds tonight and tomorrow in Wyoming and Idaho into the Front Range. Here comes the advance of the cold front. This is where blizzard conditions will start Wednesday evening and spread eastward Wednesday night into Thursday. And the greens show wind gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour. So very strong winds all the way down to the Gulf Coast Thursday night where the cold air blasts. This is your front right here. Very hard to miss. Out ahead of this storm, we see another area of stronger winds sending that milder conveyor belt up into the Northeast Thursday night and Friday. And that's actually where I think the strongest winds are going to occur. Coastal New England, wind gusts close to hurricane force on Friday, 71, 78, 82, 91 mile per hour wind gusts just off of the Maine seacoast here. Back in the Great Lakes where that cold air is, wind gusts of 40 to 50. That's going to blow that snow around, cause zero visibility conditions, and make for extremely dangerous travel. These winds still howl into Saturday, Christmas Eve. We see slow improvement, but it's going to be a windy day here, even in the Southeast. And then as we get into Christmas Day, the winds do relax, and you guys can see the next storm system creating some stronger winds in Montana and Big Sky country as milder air clashes with that cold air mass over the northern plains. Finally, let's take a look at snow chances here in the Southeast on the ensembles. You guys can see it dropping south. Let me make it a little bit easier to see. This is 24-hour snow ensemble members. This is an average of everything. Some models are obviously producing higher amounts of snow than others. I'll show you the GFS so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the 10-to-1 ratio. Let's go with Kuchera. And you guys can see higher snow rates, the potential for a foot of snow in Chicago, 1.5 feet around Kalamazoo, Detroit, perhaps 6 to 8 inches of snow, northern parts of Ohio, and especially northern and central Indiana have a chance of getting over a foot of snow. Same goes for the mountains of West Virginia, even into North Carolina, several inches of snow possible from this storm. I think the highest amounts will be around Lake Superior where 50 inches of snow may fall. And then another storm could drop south, and you guys can see we maybe get teased here in the south with potential snow for the beginning of next week. So quite a bit to talk about. This is the area I am highlighting for blizzard conditions likely in blue as possible. And these are officially blizzard criteria, and that's temperatures below 20, wind gusts over 35, visibility less than a quarter mile, and of course, snow falling heavily at times. All right, well, thank you all for joining me. Please follow along for more updates, like and subscribe to my channel. And if you have a minute, I did want to dedicate this forecast to all of those who operate a truck, a semi truck. Thank you to the truckers. I've got my trucker hat here. Bucky's same age as me, actually, 1982. But I'm thinking of my friend Naeem up in Pennsylvania, who I met 8 years ago, watching a World Cup game in a bar in New York State. Naeem, a Penn State grad like me, real nice guy, lives as a trucker, lives out of his truck, and there are many more like him. Naeem is a difference maker. He is bringing supplies and food to people, from the distributor to the consumer, the grocery stores, of course. And without truckers, we would be in a world of trouble. We would not have the supplies we need to survive because most of us are not running our own farms. Without them, we would go hungry. We would not have things like toilet paper. And I know it's very difficult with the cost of diesel, with some of the mandates that were passed on earlier, for truckers to be successful in what they do, and that is to provide for other people. So those of you that are truckers, I really appreciate all that you do for us. You mean a lot to me personally. I don't take that lightly, and just want to bless you and offer up a prayer if you're a trucker. Those of you that are still around here, just know that I'm a Christian, and I put my faith in God, in that I am here to build up other people and encourage them and show them the light. I've seen some disagreements in people in the meteorology field lately, and really this is just a small microcosm of what's going on worldwide, where people are judging each other, people are divided, people are not using humility and not really caring for one another. And it got me to reading a little bit more about the biblical solution to it. So if you are in the Word like I am, then go to Matthew 7, and he discusses judging others. Matthew 7:1 says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened." And very much that just screams to me as somebody who very much has been judgmental across my 40 years. A lot of it was the way I was raised, but more so decisions that I continued to make even after I accepted Christ almost 10 years ago. But again, leave it up to God to judge. Please, folks, I want to plead with you to rather than judge other people, maybe see their perspective, maybe walk a mile in their shoes. Don't just get on Twitter and publicly blast other people that you don't agree with. Even if it annoys you, just know that you can very much do something that will come back later on and bite you in the butt. I know I've done it many times. These are lessons I've learned in my lifetime. So what this verse says to me is, we're getting to the holiday season, and we really need to just kind of put our eyes on ourselves. And of course, avert your eyes to the Lord, for he, of course, is the mighty God. He's the God of healing. He's the God of peace. He's the God of redemption through his son, Jesus Christ. And I'm asking you, if you do not have a relationship with Jesus, maybe you believe in God or some form of higher power, but you just don't know how to make the next step. I encourage you to get around others who are believers and just question their beliefs, but also take some time to listen to them and their stories. If you are a believer and maybe your faith has been tested and you're just like frustrated with everything, trust me, brothers and sisters, I know what it's like. It is difficult. But if you take your battles that you're dealing with and then force them on other people and go and judge those other people, are you really helping? Are you really helping your faith out? Are you really helping others in need of spiritual encouragement? In my opinion, no. So I ask you, if you need my prayer, if you'd like to be prayed for, if you have people in your life that are suffering that are going through a challenging time right now, I'm here for you guys and I want to pray for you. So please feel free to comment in the section if you need some prayers. I believe in you all, and I really appreciate your time here. I love you all. May the grace of God be with you. Have a wonderful, blessed day, and please be safe and stay warm. God bless you.